Okay, so let's start off with the final project first, in terms of before you guys get into developing this week's assignment, which is going to be the flow chart and storyboard. Right, so you have to do that. You have to get that in as part of your assignment. I think it's a fairly easy assignment. You should be done with this pretty quick with it, in terms of just got to think of what you want to do, right? So I'll come back to this in terms of the flow, what I want from your flow chart, what I want from your storyboard. But first, obviously, you need to know what I want you to do for the final project. Okay. So as you can see on here, the final project is all set up right here. You also have a chance to do extra credit on there, and you know, as you can see, basically all I want you to do for extra credit, and these extra credit, is for you guys to post it on the discussion board so everybody else can see it, and also, but in order for everybody else to see it, you need to be able to get it up on the internet. And you know, you've done this for chapter 6, so you should know how to do that. Okay. All right. So on the final project assignments, if you go to your assignment links, go to final project, you click on this link right here, it brings up this HTML page. All right, and as you can see, there's right at the beginning is the minimum criteria. So the minimum criterion basically means that if you just do everything that's on here that it says for you to have on there, you'll get a letter grade of a C. Okay, so you'll notice right here a C grade. Here's the rubrics. So a C grade meets required criteria for the project. To start with, you'll notice you have to design, you have to do the flow chart and all that kind of stuff, which is part of your assignment. So, that should be a given right there for you. At least a minimum of 6 pages. So again, if you just do 6 pages, you're going to get a C. So you need to do more than 6 pages if you want a B or an A type thing. Okay. The first page, one of the other things is the first page or first scene must be a splash page. That's think of it as a landing page in terms of a website. It's the first page you get to that entices the audience to want to continue on into your website. So the landing page, the first splash page, whatever you want to call it, may be different setup than the rest of your website. So in terms of the layout, all that kind of stuff may look differently. So it depends on you. Now with Flash, what's nice about it is that you have this capability of doing animations, being really creative in terms of your landing pages if you want, or your splash page or intro page. Again, whatever way you want to look at it. You can check out. There's a lot of plenty. If you do splash page examples, top 10 splash pages, or I'm sorry, Flash pages, you'll see a lot of good examples of that. And when you look at the examples, don't think, okay, I have to be able to do it the way that they've done these Flash pages. You don't have to, but you're definitely capable of doing some of those things on there in terms of what you'll see in terms of some of those examples. All right. Now, again, keep in mind that that's what you're going to do for your first page. Then after that, it'll be, you have to make sure that, as you'll notice on here, each page or scene must be interactive. Now, I'm saying page because it depends on how you set it up. It could be like you could have different approaches to setting up your web pages or for your final project. So it could be set up frame by frame. So one frame could represent a whole page if you wanted to. So that in that one frame, you would essentially could have a movie clip that's totally interactive. You see? And then your nav bar, which just goes from frame 1 through 8 or 1 through 10 or whatever, because again, each frame could represent one page. You could also take the approach of creating different scenes. You know how to create your different scenes. So each different scene would represent a page. So that's another approach in terms of what you can do. Keep in mind, if you do the first approach where each frame is a page, most likely you're going to set up your interactivity, your animations, all within like maybe a movie clip. So your movie clip could be, 50 frames, 100 frames long, but it resides in that one frame, which represents that one page of yours. You see how you could set that up? So you could do it that way. All right. So it's up to you how you decide to get your 6 pages themes or scenes or whatever, but it'll be up to you. Okay. So one or more pages needs to show evidence of, and these are some of the things that needs to be on, not on every page, but it could be on one page or the other. It could be like on one page you could cover three of these things, and the other one you could cover one, and the other one you cover 2 more or whatever. But basically the idea is that these things need to be part of your project. So again, motion tween animation or frame by frame animation when appropriate, motion tween animation with motion guide. So it means you're going to be doing classic motion tweening with the classic motion guide. Shape tweening, masking, buttons. Well, you just need to create your buttons and so on. Use of action script, obviously. Proper navigational structure, meaning that what should happen if you look at most websites, when you have the proper navigational structure, meaning that most of the time, maybe except for the landing page, most of the times you will have some kind of nav bar, whether it's on the left side, on the right side, on the across the top, and so on. You can set that up whatever way you want to, but the point is that you're going to have, the user should be able to always be able to click on home, be able to click on about, contact us, whatever it is that they're trying to navigate through the website. They should be able to get to that right away. They shouldn't have to hit back or anything like that, or they shouldn't have to click on one button to get the other button, then to finally get back to the home page so they can get back to somewhere else. Okay. So again, set it up so that it's easy to navigate, right? And again, if you look at some of those examples, it doesn't have to be the traditional type of, horizontal or a vertical type of nav. You could set it up in any way, but as long as the user is able to navigate throughout the website. Okay. Then obviously no scripting errors, broken tweens, etc., and use of sound. So you're going to use sounds on there. All right. So that's, if you just you do that real quickly, not quickly, but you do that, all that, you'll get pretty much a C, right? In terms of 80 points, it comes out to about 60 points or something like that, right? Now, if you want to get a B and above, then you got to make sure that you meet some of this criteria on the B grade, for the B grade, which means that you're going to do complex animation, meaning you're going to be using movie clips. So things are going to be embedded within each other. Again, going back to some of the examples I had talked about for Chapter 8, a helicopter that's flying around, the blade is spinning, that's a movie clip, constant motion on that. And then the body of the helicopter, maybe it's, another movie clip that, the blades are embedded within there, but that's motioning around, and then the helicopter's flying around the main timeline or something like that, right? So complex animation, that's what I'm talking about. Not just, motion tweening, just flying from point A to point B, and that's about it, right? I mean, obviously you can do that. That would accomplish you to getting a C. Use of ActionScript 3.0, meaning that instead of you're going to be making sure you're doing 3.0 and on in terms of your ActionScript based on, Chapter 9. That you're using, you use some of the more advanced ActionScript that you see on Chapter 10. So in terms of loading, using, to external movie clips, or external Swift files, loading them onto your main timeline. Each of the frames, maybe if you set up frame by frame, or onto each of the scenes, type thing. So you're completing some of those parts within another Flash project, and then you're having it load externally. For instance, that would be an example of that. Also, if you remember, in terms of the more advanced ActionScript or the advanced audio, you created, again, you use ActionScript to load the audio. It wasn't just, put on the timeline. So dragging the audio to the timeline would not be considered advanced use of audio, right? Because that's easy. All you do is click and drag and that's it, type thing. Remember, you can also load audios externally, just like you were loading Swift files. So that would be another way to make sure you get a B and above. And then you have to create 8 pages or more, as you can see on here. So 8 pages or more. Okay, and then that would most likely guarantee you a B without any scripting errors or anything like that. Then to get an A, you demonstrate creativity, show professional quality, which means that you're going to have a nice looking website, professional website. You're going to have a good color scheme going on. You're going to have a nice layout. Everything's going to be working really nice. It's not going to look amateurish type thing. It's going to look like it's not going to be something like you guys sometimes did for your assignments, where you kind of just threw it together real quickly, to get the grade and so on. You take time to create this. You really take pride, basically. I mean, I need to see that you really put time into it. I can tell, based on your previous project, based on what you do for your final project, right? And then you guys can look at what, in terms of a D and an F. That should be pretty obvious in terms of what you will get. Just keep in mind also, you guys can read through the rest of this stuff right here. Keep in mind that in terms of some resources, there's flashkit.com. Some of you guys use that site for your audio when you did your assignment with Chapter 11 assignment. Also, if you're having action script problems when we're doing this, you're at home, besides putting it on discussion, you can also go to their discussion, actionscript.org. And there's usually a lot of solutions there in itself. When you can keep in mind, you can take some of the errors, copy that, paste it onto a Google search, and it'll sometimes pop up with different suggestions as to what can be done in terms of some of your errors and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So that's your final project. Now, in terms of, let's look at in terms of your flowchart and storyboard, which is your assignment that it's going to be due for this week. So if you I already clicked on the site, if you click on this site, this should be the site that comes up. And this, again, focuses on small business and stuff, but in terms of a flowchart, it's pretty much the same thing. All I did is search for flowcharts. This came up. I liked it. I'm using it. Okay. So as you can see on here, let me zoom in a little bit on that. As you can see, you're going to start probably, this would be more like, again, your flash, or your intro page, or splash page, or landing page, whatever you want to call it. So it's probably going to start out here. It may go, you may have another rectangle down at the bottom over here somewhere where it actually goes from the splash page to the home page. From the home page, then maybe it goes to, if you're selling something, it could be products. If it's a travel site, this would be places, or about me, or whatever, right? Contact us, and so on. Again, most likely you'll have 2 of these, one on top of each other, and then the subsequent pages that would all link. So the idea is, again, from any one of these pages, if I'm in the client's page, I should be able to click to the newsletter page. If I'm in the newsletter page, I should be able to click back to the home page. If I'm in the home page, I should be able to go to any one of these sites. Now, this right here represents if you go from that particular page that pertains to that particular page. In terms of products, you have, say, you have widget 1, and then you have widget 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to go to those different widgets. They'll probably be coming off this page, or maybe there's more examples of that. Maybe there's an animation of it or something like that. Okay, and that would be what this is about. Again, depending on how you decide to design it, or what your theme is, you're going to just create your different flow chart, or your different squares to represent those pages. Keep in mind that you can do this flow chart. You can do this in Illustrator, if you want, you could do it in Flash. As you can see, they're just rectangles, text, lines, and arrows, and so on. You could do it in PowerPoint. You could do it in Word. There's many, many different softwares that you can use to create this flowchart. So, it's up to you how you do it. All right. Now, the next thing, let's see if this has come up, is the page layout, or basically the storyboarding. What I'm looking for, of course, this thing hasn't loaded. What I'm looking for, basically, is to see what your layout is going to look like. I want to get an idea what it's going to be. So you probably will have like 3 or 4 of these. One of representing the splash page, another one representing the home page, and then maybe a couple more representing your other pages. And that's really all I need to get an idea of how you're going to design and do your layout. Also, keep in mind, this is a good time, as you can see right here, for you to be able to let me know in terms of what your color scheme is going to be. So I want you to think about what is going to be the color scheme for your page. As you can see, this is like more of a monochromatic approach in terms of the color. So light blue, dark blue, and obviously the text usually is going to vary there in terms of the text color, so that you want to have enough of a contrast. Notice, for instance, in this example, that they don't use black text on blue background. So make sure you use enough of a contrast in terms of your colors so that the text will be able to pop out. If it's a white background, yeah, black text works great. And so, but black text on blue background, or especially dark blue background, usually doesn't work very well. Okay. So again, keep that in mind in terms of that. You're going to, when you create your storyboard, you're also going to let me know what, show me what that color scheme is going to be about. So here's some examples. So for instance, someone did their storyboarding in their storyboarding. They did it in Flash. Very, again, squares, text, and so on. Color scheme is green, as you can see. And then, then they did the other page where they're going to showcase their Photoshop. They're going to use a slide. They're going to create a slideshow type setup using a movie clip or whatever kind of thing. And then if they're going to showcase their images, maybe they do this approach, whatever type of thing. So again, you're showing me the different pages and then the description of like what the pages are going to be about, some of the things that are going to be happening, and so on. Okay. Let's see what else. So here somebody did a flowchart in Illustrator, and then, as you can see, very simple flowchart. You can have the approach where you are going to do this. Again, if you notice, you can do all this in Flash if you wanted to, right? Or Photoshop. You can create, if you feel comfortable using Photoshop, do it in Photoshop to create the squares, the text, and so on. Okay, but very simple in terms of what you need to do. But obviously, you need to think through what you want to do first before you put it up, in terms of what you're going to show me. Now, I think who had a question about their project or something like that being okay. Anyway. Keep in mind that I don't want, for your final, I don't want a repeat of anything you've done before in terms of your projects. So you have to come up with a new idea, fresh idea, in terms of what you want to do for your final project. I don't want you using any of the same images, objects, or anything like that from any of your previous assignment. So again, all new stuff. Keep in mind that that's what I want you guys to do in terms of your final project. That's what I'm going to be looking for in terms of your flowchart. And make sure that whether you do it in the flowchart area somewhere, or even though some of this is pretty obvious, this is going to be basically a portfolio page, but still tell me what you want it to be. Okay? Let me know what you want it to be, whether you have text on here somewhere or like the other student here that had text on the bottom describing what is it that they wanted to do. Okay? In terms of your final project. You had a question?
If we wanted to do our flowchart with like mind mapping software, for example.
Yeah, that's fine.
That would work.
Mind mapping software is totally fine. I don't care. Make sure that I'm able to open it up. That's all. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
So we're just making up our own website?
Correct. Yeah. Now keep in mind, even though the idea here is of a website, you can take the approach of a game if you wanted to. If you think of some type of game that you want to create, but it needs to have 6 different scenes or more, 8 scenes or more for an A. If you want to take that approach too, you have the skills now to be able to create a very simple, simplistic game. Nothing where you're going to do obviously where you're doing shooting games or anything like that, where it needs to create bullets and stuff like that flying constantly, or when you're pressing it. But you can do stuff where you're hitting the button and maybe it's you can drag the object around. You can do some of those things. So if you want to take that approach, or if you think of something like that you want to do, what's usually very simple in terms of a game, which lends to what again, you guys are not at the level right now where it's Multimedia 116, where you're creating all these very interactive games, but your beginning level using Flash, that maybe you could do more platform type games, where they go through a door, they have to make a choice, they have to go left or right, or whatever that type of scenario you could set up, and they have to click on here, and that opens up to another scene. And they have to, answer some questions. They click on that. If there's a correct answer or wrong answer, it goes to another scene. They drop or whatever, all kinds of stuff. You can do all that kind of setup if you wanted to. Okay. But anyway, so it's up to you guys. Any other questions? All right. That is it then.